Hi, I'm Jared, and you're watching How to Animate Studio. This is a short series on lip sync. This is episode 1 of 2 on the topic, and we're going to get this Moai statue going on some lip sync. He's normally just a big stone head, but...
I'm actually made from compressed volcanic ash, thanks.
You know, you're right. This video is a level 2. It's a little more difficult due to the drawing and the complexity of the setup. Our objectives for this episode are to create mouth phonemes, which means we need to understand what they are and what exactly we should be drawing. We're going to prep our character for lip sync, which means bringing in all of our artwork that we create and making switch layers to help him speak. Then we're actually going to animate a speaking character for the end of the video. And so you can see most of the videos prepping the character for lip sync, and then we'll do a little bit of animation. Hardware I'm using for this episode, I'm on a Mac and I have a Wacom tablet. Software-wise, I'm going to be using Photoshop for my drawing and Animate Studio, obviously, for the animation. I'm going to be using After Effects as well to show you a little bit about workflow and compositing. You can really use any software you want for the drawing portion and for Animate Studio to accept. So it's up to you. It's your personal choice how you like to work. I would highly recommend using something pixel-based like Photoshop so you can see the power and flexibility of Animate Studio. Okay, to get started, let's get a handle on what a phoneme is. Basically, it's a unit of sound. Every single sound that comes out of our mouths make a shape. So we need to draw all of those shapes. There are 7 that I feel you absolutely need, and then I'm going to throw 3 more in there that are nice to have. You'll find tons of references out there, and I always have a reference in front of me when I'm drawing. I'm going to start you off in After Effects. So let's say this is a project I'm working on, and this blue section is the time span of which this character would be speaking. So let's take a look at what we got here. If I drill down into this particular scene, I have a Moai, and then I have a background. Maybe he's in a museum of some sort. If I go into the actual Moai Photoshop file, I have 2 layers. I have a neck and I have a head. That'll come into play, maybe later on. I'm going to use this as a tracing object to put my mouse on top of in Photoshop. Let's take a peek at the resolution. I make my images pretty large because you can always make things smaller, and there's no issue. If you want to make them bigger, you can get some pixelization. Layers, we have a reference that I've put in there. We have a Moai statue. This is going to be used for tracing, and then a background layer. First thing I'm going to do is make a boundary for my mouth so I can be consistent with the position of my mouths. So there's a little dotted line. And then I'm going to make the layer transparent, about 35%. Go ahead and position my first mouth and start to sketch. I'm going to need a new layer called a sketch layer. And this is going to be a temporary place to kind of figure out some ideas. Think about the mouth in a way where the jaw will be moving downward and the top of the mouth will be staying still. So the M will be towards the top of that boundary. All the other mouth positions should go down from there. I'm also going to label this M. Okay, just scooch that over, and then we can do the next one. S is a wider mouth, so I'm going to go to the boundaries left and right, and then I'm just going to have some teeth with a simple line. You can make these as complicated as possible, making individual teeth and shading and all that other stuff, but we'll just make them simple for now. E is similar. It's wide, and we'll see the top and bottom teeth, but the mouth is going to be open. I make a lot of funny faces in the mirror to try to get these right, and probably when I'm drawing them right now. The next one is ah. So this one is as big as possible within this boundary. I like to make my mouse really expressive. So think about it. You're making a cartoon. Why not make it really expressive? If you do that, it'll help your character enunciate the words. and it's a little more fun. So this one's an upside down U. See the top teeth and the tongue. The oo sound is real simple. You can just do kind of a circle, maybe a line, and you got it. A couple more have to sounds that we need to develop. The sound for F is pretty simple. It's just a curve and then 2 or 3 more curves. Basically, you want to show the top teeth biting the lower lip. The sound for L is similar to the ah mouth, where you're opening nice and wide. You're going to see the top teeth again, but the tongue's going to do something different. It's going to hide behind the top teeth. Now, we have 3 sounds that are nice to have. This will give you some variety. I'm labeling this one R, but it's more of a miscellaneous mouth, where you can use it for an R sound or a G or a D or a K or whatever you can't find in the other mouths. You could probably use this one for. So you're going to see the top and bottom teeth and maybe a little bit of the tongue hidden behind it, and the mouth shape is a little wider. The next one is the TH sound. Th. And think about the S sound that we made, but we're going to put a tongue that sticks out. So if you want to copy and paste your S mouth and then just draw a tongue on top, that would work too. And then finally, another alternative for an open mouth shape. So an I'm going to draw this a little taller than my reference. Something to think about is the mood of your character. Is it happy or grumpy? Your mouth shapes may change based on that mood. All right, time to draw some final mouth shapes. First, I'm going to make my sketch layer transparent. Then making a new layer for each mouth. First one's M. And with a thicker brush, just going to draw over the outlines. Then I'm going to hide that layer, but move my sketch layer over and repeat. New layer, name it, thicker brush, outline. The teeth here, I'm not going to draw a black line. I'm going to save that for my fill layer later. So this video is sped up to 150%. I'm going to put some music on and kind of let you watch. If you want to just skip forward, this is just a lot of outlining. To fill in the outlines, you need some colors to choose from. So I have a new layer called Colors that I've picked. Go to your active layer, mine is the layer, and get your paint bucket tool. You might have to play with your settings. Tolerance for me was the biggest thing I had to play with. But basically, you're going to option click the color you want, and then click and it'll fill in the shape. Teeth, tongue, and then inside of the mouth are the three colors. And then you're going to turn the layer off. And I think the biggest trick is making sure you're painting on the right layer. So on this particular one, I wanted the teeth to be a different color, so I used the magic wand to select the teeth, got a brush, and then got a little bit of a darker color just to put some lines for where the teeth meet. So again, it's just a lot of repetition. You're going to turn this layer off, turn the next layer on, sample with the option button, and then fill in. So again, I'm going to speed this video up and turn the music up as well. And that should do it. The M doesn't need to be filled in. So now we just need to clean up our Photoshop file. All these layers are not needed. They were just used for sketching or templates. So go ahead and dump those and turn on all of your mouth layers. And go ahead and crop into the area that you need. And finally, save your file. I have a folder organizing all my files. Inside of my graphics folder, I've been saving my Photoshop files. So just make sure you're organized. I have two Photoshop files that I'd like to show you. First one is the Moai head. The second one is all the mouths that we drew. So I have two Photoshop files. I'm going to drop them into Animate Studio. Okay, so first let's make a new file and take a look at the resolution. I'm working in HDTV 1920 by 1080 at 24 frames per second. Next, I'm going to import. You can do a file import if you like, but it's real easy to just drag and drop. So first, let's take care of the statue head. So when I drag and drop, I can do it either on the canvas or in the layers palette. It doesn't matter. You have a choice of a composite or an individual import. And we want individual because we want all the layers. Let's get rid of layer 1. We don't need that, and we don't need the background either. We just want the figure. So we have a neck and a head. And here's what's cool. It creates a folder for you. Now, there was no folder in my file. It makes one. So what we can do, first let's rename this. If you right-click on this folder, you have some choices. You can make it a bone layer, a bone folder, or a switch folder. We want this one to be a bone because we would rig this thing and make it move and all that sort of stuff. So a bone is a good folder type to keep all of your artwork in if you plan on rigging it. Next, we're going to bring in our mouths. Same thing. I can drag and drop. I want individual. And again, it gives me a folder with all of my artwork in it. Let's rename this just something simple like mouth. And it's singular because we're only going to see one of these layers at a time when we right-click and turn it into a switch layer. That's the way a switch layer works. It will only show you one of these layers at a time. If you wanted to switch between graphics, you would right-click on the folder and then select which one, and it will switch to whichever one you want to see. But for now, we can see the M, and that's good because we want that to be positioned, if we kind of remember our dotted line, around there. If you click on each one, you can see it's all there. Looks good to me. So you can position each of one individually or the whole entire folder, however you like. Next, we need to put this into the Moai bone folder, and we are ready to animate some lip sync. First, some tips. When you're doing lip sync, stay on each switch layer for 2 frames if possible. It helps the viewer see the mouth. Switch the drawing before you hear the sound. Usually I do this and I'm just delayed when I get done with it. It's like too slow. Simplify your work by focusing on the primary sound of each word. You'll have the necessary animation and it'll be a lot quicker. Let's go ahead and import some sound from my folder. I've put a wave file in here. Again, I can drag and drop it anywhere. I'm going to put it in my layers, and there we go. We have a waveform here. You can scrub through it or press the space bar and play it.
I'm actually made from compressed volcanic ash, thanks.
Sounds familiar. I'm going to set my out point to this video to be maybe 120. Okay, and so what we're going to start doing is putting in some keyframes where our phonemes are from our mouth's switch layer. What I like to do is twirl down this folder so I can see all of my drawings inside. Starting at frame 0, I go forward until I hear the first sounds. Now, I like to get an idea what the first sound might be. Okay, so he's going to start with this resting pose, the M, and then is the first word he says. Right there should be So I'm going to right click on my folder and go to It has entered a channel into our timeline. These are hold frames, so they'll stay on as long as they can possibly stay on until you switch to another layer. Okay, so all right, that should be or the resting pose. The next word, I'm actually, so it's a little more complex. What I can do is I can, instead of right-clicking and doing that, I can left-click and look at it. So that might be the winner right there, or that one. Let's do that one. So you can look at it, and then you can right-click on your folder and choose it. And then we have an M sound. Maybe one frame later, actually. The X sound should be the closed mouth, actually. Actually will be O. I hear an L in there. And then there's an E directly after that. And then made, we'll start with M. Aid, that might be an E. May. The D sound will be a closed mouth. I hear an F there. We can go to an O here for rum. And then maybe our sound. And then our M. Let's hear this next part. Compressed. Okay, maybe we have maybe an E sound. M and P are the same mouth, so you don't have to change it. I'm going to use my R shape here. And it's really simplified. I'm not doing every single phoneme. It's going to go so fast you won't even be able to tell, so I'm actually skipping a sound here and there. So right here, he says compressed. So it's S-E-D. You could leave it with the S mouth, or you could toggle back and forth with maybe S, and then E, and then a frame later you go back to this one. It's just an extra touch. Let's hear this next part. Volcanic ash. V and F are the same. Volcanic, so that's going to be A. And then I hear an L. What would that be? Probably an S. Volcanic. This one might be maybe the R. R shape just as a utility mouth. It's nice. N. I'm going to use an E here. And then go back to here. Ash. Right here, we're going to use our TH. We might use it for a frame or two, but it's kind of nice to have it there. That was too soon. If you need to move one of these hold frames around, you just click right here and drag, because I put it in too soon. So, and then he'll go back to a resting pose after this waveform. It's up to you when you want that to go back to rest. So maybe there. Okay, we're going to play it. See how that sounds. Go to frame 0 and press play.
I'm actually made from compressed volcanic ash, thanks.
Okay, and it would keep looping. If that doesn't play very well for you, I'd recommend going to File, Preview Animation. And it's going to chug through really fast through all of your frames and give you a quick preview in a video of what that's going to look like.
I'm actually made from compressed volcanic ash, thanks.
Okay, if you need to do any edits, then you would do them now before you export your file. Exporting is pretty easy. Go to File, Export Animation, and I like to use QuickTime ProRes 4444. That will give me an alpha channel, and that means that the background is going to be transparent. You have all sorts of other options. You can do MPEG-4s, you can do image sequences, but this is the one that I use. Take a look at my settings if you like that. I'm going to use this for After Effects, so I won't see that background. Once I hit OK, it's going to ask me, hey, do you want to save this file? And I do. It's a .mov or a video file on my Mac, and I want to save it to footage. Hit save. Once I hit save, it's going to render, which I'll speed up, and then we'll put it into After Effects. You can take a look at it here if you want to. I'm going to go ahead and close this, save my work, and open up After Effects. Okay, here is where we started. This was the beginning of the video. We have our master here. We have our scene 1 where our moai is going to speak, and this is our moai layer. So what I want to do is I want to replace this with the video that I just shot, or I just created. So I'm going to find my video. There it is. Moai, open. In After Effects, it's going to ask you, hey, how do you want to import it? And I usually leave it straight unmatted because I have an alpha channel. And a little shortcut here, you can drag and drop, pressing Option on top of a layer, and it will replace it. So I'm going to press the magical key combination of ONIB, and it's going to crop to the layer that I have selected. Once I press Preview, it's going to render in green, and then it'll start looping. So I'll play this for you a couple of times so you can see our final product.
I'm actually made from compressed volcanic ash, thanks. I'm actually made from compressed volcanic ash, thanks.
That looks great. Now your bonus lightning round full of more ideas. The best tip I can give you is to download this script and install it. Basically what it's going to do is it's going to set your current layer to active in your switch layer. So let's take a look at what that means. Normally I have to right click and select the layer that I want. But what if I just wanted to take a look at the layer that I want and turn it on? So that's really what it does. I have a keyboard shortcut that activates what I'm seeing. So I can use my arrows, take a look. Okay, I like that. Press my keyboard shortcut. It's really fast. It's gonna save you a ton of time. And if you take a look at your mouth layer, it's actually working. It's activating all of the switch layers. To install a script like this, please watch this video. It's an excellent description of how to install a script. If you want your mouths to animate from one to the other, there are many ways to do that. Here's one simple way you can try. If you go to your mouth switch layer and go to the switch tab, you can check the interpolate sublayers box. And then when you draw your mouths, they have to be vector drawings. They can't be Photoshop or bitmap work. You have to draw them, and I would recommend highly working in Anime Studio. You have to draw them very, very simply. So I just did a sample where one mouth is an O, and I used just the black circle with 4 points. I duplicated that layer, and I made an E or a wider mouth. Again, it's got 4 points. I'm not adding points or anything like that. And there's no teeth or tongue or anything like that. It's very simple. Although you could do that, but you just got to keep the points the same. And then an M, again with 4 points. And what it's going to do is it's going to interpolate between the three drawings when we switch. So let me show you. If I go to my M mouth, set that keyframe. I'm going to go 4 frames so you can see the transitions. 1, 2, 3, 4. I go to E. 1, 2, 3, 4. Go to O. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then go back to M. If I take a look at my mouth layer, I have some different keyframes here. Those are normal keyframes, whereas before we had hold frames. And if I scrub through, you can see that it's morphing. So that's pretty cool. You should definitely try this. If you have lots of lip sync, consider the auto lip sync function. Double click on your switch layer, go to the switch tab, and then you can pick your audio from this little pull down. What it'll do is it'll auto populate all of the switch layers it thinks need to be there. Now it's not going to be super accurate, but it'll be super fast. There is some specific names for layers that you should use, and you're definitely going to have to do some tweaking, but it'll give you some quality results if you take some time with it. What if you wanted to add to your mouths? Well, Anime Studio 11 makes it really easy when you're working with Photoshop files. If I open it back up, my mouth files, and maybe I make a new layer, and I call that, let's just call that M2. Maybe just a variety of my M mouth. Maybe I want to make it more curvy or something different. All I have to do is save my file, go back to my Anime Studio file, and it adds that layer automatically. I felt like this guy could be pushed even further, so one thing I did was did a simple rig on him, just a control bone and a couple of bones that have flexi binding regions. So the head and the mouth are being controlled by this kind of region here. So I can move them left and right. The next thing I did was a little more complex. I wanted to move the chin. So if you think about it, your chin moves up and down when you speak. So I feel that adds a little bit of appeal and can help your animation look a little more fresh. So what I did is, if I hide the mouth, I made the head, I cropped the head to where I felt like there was a good breaking point. And then I went in and I made a folder for each mouth, and I put the original drawing, there's our M right there. And then I made a duplicate of the head that I cropped the other way. Then I set my origin at the top of that cropping, and then I controlled the transformation of that, how far I think the chin should go down on each layer. So if you take a look at the M or the S, it's moving just a little bit each time. Probably should be the lowest one. It's going up and down on each layer. So it took a little bit of work, but now I have a character that can speak and move, and now his chin moves. So it's a little bit more complex and a little more appealing.
I'm actually made from compressed volcanic ash, thanks.
If you'd like to dig into the character and figure out how I did that, the link is in the description. All right, thanks for watching. I hope this was helpful to get you started on your lip sync adventures. If you'd like to see a totally different method of lip sync, I'm going to be using Anime Studio's drawing tools and smart bones to create a mouth rig in episode 2. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.